The film opens with a stunning view of a mansion, surrounded by green and trees. It shows a happy and lovely family having fun while also eating and dancing. Ella, her parents, and a few maids make up this small but lovely and content family. But one day Ella's mother falls sick, and eventually passes away a few days later, which changes Ella's life forever. For Ella and her father, things got difficult, but they were willing to accept the situation as it was. Before passing away, her mother counseled her to always be kind and confront things bravely. After her mother dies, Ella grows close to her father. Her father assumed all her responsibilities and is very caring of her, much like her mother. Time flies, and Ella is now a woman. Ella's life once again went through a difficult time, when her father showed up one evening with his second wife. The woman had recently lost her husband and was now a widow. Her name is Lady Tremaine. She was a bit old but modern. Lady Tremaine, who married Ella's father, moved in with her two daughters, Drizella and Anastasia. Ella was unhappy about these inescapable relatives since she was unprepared for them. She didn't have a plan for them, and hadn't anticipated them in her life because her father had never told her about them. However, she recalled her mother's advice and decided to accept it for her father's happiness as well as her own. She gave them a warm welcome. Lady Tremaine was a daring and contemporary woman. She begins to take charge of everything as soon as she steps inside the house. She plans a welcome party for herself and she invited her friends too. They were conversing, laughing, playing cards, eating, and drinking freely at the party. However, Ella was irrelevant at the time. They do not intend to include her in their business. At the party, Ella feels awkward and out of place. As soon as she realized what was going on, she leaves. She rushes over to play with her animal buddies. But she was unable to contain her feelings, so she rushes to her father, who was working in his office. But her father informed Ella of his business trip and his upcoming flight tomorrow. As a result, Ella begins to cry, making them both emotional. Lady Tremaine, Ella's stepmother, was jealous of Ella's father because she saw how emotionally they are connected and how close they were to one another. Regarding both herself and her girls, she felt insecure in the mansion. For her daughter's promising future, Ella was a barrier. She believes that she alone has a claim on Ella's father's time, love, emotions, and financial resources. She consequently made the decision to take Ella's facilities. The following day, Ella's father departs, and Lady Tremaine's attitude towards Ella suddenly changed. She changes into a cruel stepmother. She asked Ella to leave her room and go into the attic. The right to live in her room belongs only to her kid. For Ella, the situation was quite challenging. The room, which her parents had furnished for her, contained her belongings and memories. She sadly left the room because no one would help her. People with Ella's level of positivity and composure are quite uncommon in this world. Ella made a self-adjust in the attic. She begins talking and having fun with her small animal buddies while living a happy life. She advised others to move here so she wouldn't have to constantly deal with her stepmother and stepsisters. Sadly, she was mistaken in this case. Her stepmother and sisters begin to pursue her. She must perform the household duties, they say, because she is the best. They gave her no room and treated her like a servant. Life gets challenging for Ella. She grows exhausted but holds on to the belief that when her father returns, everything will return to normal. Alas! Nature had no plan for such to happen. The movie's climax unfolds when one day, a servant arrives at the door of the residence crying. This was the same man that traveled on business trips with Ella's father. He informs Ella of her father's death. On their return from the business trip, her father tragically fell sick and passed away. For Ella, that was shocking news. She couldn't believe her ears. Her life had come to an end, darkness was everywhere. She was now depressed and alone because she no longer had any shelter. She was also deeply troubled by the fact that she would now have to live her entire life in the presence of her stepmother's cruelty. Days passes, now that Ella is taking care of all the household duties, Lady Tremaine believes it is pointless to keep the servants and pay them on a monthly basis. She fires all of the house's staff as a result in order to save money. Ella was given all of the tasks and burdens of the household by Lady Tremaine. Ella was in charge of the cooking, cleaning, dishwashing, and cloth washing. She was only given the food that was left over, which she shared with her animal friends. The problem gets worse as winter approaches. It became impossible to sleep in the attic since it gets so cold. In the winter, Ella was forced to spend the night on the kitchen floor due to the steep stairs and the cold attic. Ella's lovely face got the marks of cinder due to sleeping close to the fire. As a result, her stepsisters began calling her Cinderella and start making fun of her. Here, the word Cinderella also represents the name of the film. Distraught by everyone, Ella takes her horse and leaves the home, and goes into the woods. In the forest, she was wandering when she came across a deer that the prince and his army were meant to be hunting. Ella yells for the deer to escape, and at the same moment, her horse loses control and bolts off. The prince arrives on his horse to rescue Ella. He revealed to her that he is a servant of the palace prince. They enjoyed their time together, but suddenly Ella departs without disclosing her name. The following day, the king became sick. He summoned the prince and advised him to get married right away because it was his last wish to see him reign as king. At the royal ball, the king invited him to choose a princess for himself. Hearing this, the prince remarked that everyone in the city, including the maids, should be invited to the ball. The prince had a crush on Ella, so he plans to track down Ella and marry her. The prince's request is accepted by the king. The following day, the prince's men announced at the market and extended an invitation to the royal ball to all residents, wealthy and poor alike. The ordinary citizen was shocked by the news. Ella was there as well. After returning home, she excitedly informed Lady Tremaine about the invitation. Sadly, Lady Tremaine turned away from Ella and hurried for her daughters. Lady Tremaine had a dream that if a prince marries one of her daughters, their lives would be changed and she would take control of the entire palace. The scene then changes to the prince. Every time, Prince has been seen to be lost in his thoughts, wondering about Ella. His commander has also noticed that he is not giving his full attention. The prince is worried about the king's choice, though. At Ella's home, the preparations got underway. Lady Tremaine, her stepmother, was fascinated with her daughter's fashion sense. She also purchased them brand new, pricey outfits. Ella, however, had no new clothing. At the royal ball, she was showing her daughters how to dance elegantly. Ella worries because she wanted to meet Kit at the ball. As a result, she starts making herself a dress out of her mother's clothes. The night has finally arrived, and everyone was so excited. In their colorful costumes, Lady Tremaine and her daughters were prepared to enter the ball. Ella also emerges from the attic, wearing her mother's pink dress. Upon seeing it, they begin to laugh and make fun of Ella. In her rage, Lady Tremaine even tore her clothes. She gave Ella no chance to go to a ball. Ella begins to cry. She runs towards the garden and sees an elderly woman. The woman requested some milk, and Ella provides it with a bowl. Suddenly, that elderly lady changed into a stunning woman. She claimed to be Ella's fairy godmother. She turns the goose into a coach, the lizards into the footman, the mice into the horse, and the pumpkins into a carriage. Ella was amazed to witness her magic. She then changes Ella's clothes into a stunning blue gown appropriate for a princess. She also noticed Ella's ugly shoes and gave her the iconic glass heels. She gave Ella a heads up that she needed to get back before midnight. All of the elements would return to their former forms if she arrives late. Additionally, she uses magic on Ella to disguise her identity from her stepfamily. Everyone has already arrived at the ball. The prince was waiting for Ella, so despite the presence of all the kingdom's princesses, he showed no interest in any of them. The king felt the prince's emotions as well. Finally, the prince asked any princess to dance with him in an attempt to impress the king. The celebrations were about to begin when Ella suddenly walks in. Everyone turned to face her as she entered because of how captivating she was. They admired her beauty and charm. The prince was completely delighted. The two lovers are welcomed by everyone. Ella was shocked to learn that her Kit was actually a prince. Finally, Ella joins the prince, who is overjoyed, and he shows her his secret garden. He even swings her around. Together, they were dancing and having a good time. Ella realized it would soon be midnight when the prince asked about her identity. She launches a run toward the location of her cart. The prince was rushing behind Ella, trying to stop her. Ella eventually succeeds in escaping the palace. But in hurry, she drops one of her heels. On the other side, the king falls seriously ill. He allowed the prince to marry the woman he chose, which made the prince very pleased. To find a girl whose foot fits this shoe, the prince gave the command to his soldiers. The soldiers went every home and each girl tried on the shoe, but no one's feet matched it properly. The last house was of Lady Tremaine's. Ella was kept in the attic, locked up, and told not to leave by the woman. As the army was leaving after inspecting the shoes on Lady Tremaine's daughter's large feet, the attic window unexpectedly opened. The prince eventually managed to locate Ella, and the shoe now fits her foot. Finally, they both head to the palace and get married. At last, a gentle and brave queen named Cinderella was a blessing to her country.